All right, welcome everyone to what I'm calling the Where's Waldo of Arabic letters. Today, we are on the hunt, not for a guy in a striped shirt, but for one very special, very sneaky letter, the letter Noon. You ready? Let's get into it. Okay, so here's our playing field. This is the final verse of Surah Al-Fath from the Quran. And what's so incredible about this verse is that it has every single letter of the Arabic alphabet in it. It's amazing. So your mission is to find every single noon. But, to find something, you first have to know what it looks like. So, before we can find our target, we gotta understand its disguises. See, noon is a bit of a chameleon. It changes its shape depending on where it is in a word. Let's go over its three main forms right now in our mission briefing. First up is the beginning form. So when a noon starts a word, it looks like this tiny little dip in the line. Super simple. But the key thing to look for, the dead giveaway, is that single dot sitting right on top. That's our first clue. Next, when it's smack in the middle of a word, noon kind of acts like a connector. It looks like a little bridge, linking the letter before it to the letter after it. But, once again, what gives it away? That signature dot right on top. Every time. And finally, we have the form that gives it its famous nickname. At the very end of a word, or when it's all by itself, noon gets to show off its full shape. This deep bowl, kind of like a boat, with that dot sitting perfectly in the middle. Some people even think of it as a clock, with the dot right at high noon. Pretty cool, right? So let's put them all side by side. You've got the beginning dip, the middle bridge, and the final bowl. Three different forms, but they're all the same letter, and they're always marked by that single dot on top. Okay, I think we're ready. All right, mission briefing is complete. You know all of Noon's disguises. It is officially time for the great Noon hunt. Let's scan this verse and see how many we can spot.
And bam! Right out of the gate, we've got one. See it right there? That is a textbook example of the beginning form we just talked about. Just a little dip with a dot, starting that word off.
Okay, let's keep those eyes peeled. And there's another one. See? This is that middle form in action. It's just a little bridge connecting the letters on either side with its dot right on top. Once you know what to look for, they start popping up all over the place. We've already found 12 of them. They're basically hiding in plain sight.
Whoa, hang on a second, look at this. This is a tricky one. In some Arabic calligraphy, letters can actually be stacked on top of each other. And right here, we have a noon sitting right on top of the letter jim. You always read the top letter first, so that's our noon, and it's connecting down to the next letter. It's kind of like a slight variation of that beginning form.
And this actually brings up a really fun way to remember these shapes. The source material points out that a lot of these letter shapes are related. So if you imagine the letter jim, which kind of looks like a big hook, and you imagine it falling over, it starts to look a whole lot like the bowl shape of a noon. It's a little weird, I know, but trust me, it's a great way to remember it.
Okay, so I think we're all getting pretty good at spotting these noons. But what happens when our biggest clue, the dot, just vanishes? This, my friends, brings us to a fascinating puzzle, the case of the missing dot. This is the big question. If you see that classic bowl shape or that little dip, but there's no dot, is it still a noon? I mean, this is the kind of thing that can trip up even people who've been reading Arabic for years. So when you see a potential noon without a dot, a few things might run through your mind. Could it be a noon that just doesn't have a vowel sound? Or maybe it's not a noon at all, but a totally different letter that just looks similar. Maybe it's a quirk from a different script, like Urdu, or just a super rare, artsy style of calligraphy. So, after all that guesswork, what's the final verdict for the verse we've been looking at? Well, it turns out that in this specific text, every single noon has its dot, present and accounted for. So for us today, the mystery isn't solved, which honestly just makes the hunt that much more exciting for the next time. So what did we actually learn from our little Where's Waldo hunt today? Well, we decoded Noon's disguises, we found a whole bunch of them, and we even stumbled upon a cool little mystery. Let's boil this all down to a simple takeaway so you can continue the search on your own. Finding a noon really just comes down to these three simple steps. First, and this is the most important part, spot that single dot on top. Second, check out the shape. Is it that initial dip, the middle bridge, or the final bowl? If you've got both of those, then congratulations, you have officially found yourself a noon. And with that, our hunt is over. For now. But that mystery of the dotless noon is still out there, waiting to be solved. So I'm going to turn the question over to you.
In all your time reading any kind of Arabic script, have you ever come across a noon that was missing its dot? Let me know. The hunt continues.